that clock. I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Boruto episode 217 preview. Alright guys, this episode right here is going to be very interesting. This episode right here might actually even adapt up to 3 chapters, which is absolutely insane. The reason why I say this is because Boruto episode 217, the staff behind it looks absolutely amazing. The staff behind Boruto episode 218 does not look as good, and the content in the next 3 chapters are like damn near all equally important. Obviously Baryon Mode Naruto is like a bigger thing, so obviously that right there is gonna take some sort of precedent, but 3 chapters down the line we're still like really in the trenches. But I'm gonna go over chapter 52 real quick, and of course I'm gonna tell you guys exactly when I go from chapter to chapter. I'm probably not gonna go over chapter 54, so I'm probably just gonna cover chapter 52 and chapter 53 in this particular video, just because of the sheer fact that I don't necessarily want to go into some spoilers that we're probably not necessarily gonna get to see, but it's definitely a possibility that we do see a bit. But regardless, the first thing in chapter 52 that's very apparent, Naruto is well over Isshiki Otsutsuki. It seems like Isshiki Otsutsuki can't even react to what Naruto is actually doing. And we see a little bit of this in the actual preview of this episode, where he's pretty much looking one way, Naruto completely darts to a different spot, and then Isshiki Otsutsuki is like super late reacting. And in fact, in this chapter right here, he actually tells Naruto to stop darting around. So Isshiki Otsutsuki audibly, visibly, and everything like that just cannot actually keep up with Naruto, and Naruto, as we all expect, is pretty much destroying Isshiki Otsutsuki. Sasuke even makes the observation that Naruto has actually surpassed Isshiki Otsutsuki. So the Baryon mode in itself is stronger than Isshiki Otsutsuki, full power Baryon mode. Now I think a lot of you guys know this off of the rip. Me showing you guys panels from the chapter is probably not necessarily going to do any justice to what we're probably going to get to see in the Boruto anime, but regardless, there's some very important things that we do have to get into specifically with this chapter, not necessarily regarding to the actual fighting scenes. The information in this chapter was also as equally as good as the actual action. In chapter 52, Naruto's chakra went down significantly. Now he's still in Baryon mode, but his chakra did go down. In fact, there was a flash towards Kawaki where he himself plus Amado and Shikamaru kind of looking at his arm. Kawaki said that Lord Seven's chakra is weakening. Now at this particular point, Isshiki Otsutsuki is also saying that he's basically telling Naruto like, hey, it looks like that rapid jump in your abilities and power was a life-shortening sacrifice gamble. And it turns out that Isshiki Otsutsuki believes that Naruto actually lost that gamble because, again, Naruto's chakra decreased significantly. But out of nowhere, directly after that panel, Isshiki Otsutsuki starts to cough up blood, and here's where the Baryon mode really wows everybody. Karma basically told Naruto the power is immense, it should definitely exceed his. He goes on to say, because all chakra is connected, this same power that comes into being from bits of our lives also shaves off his life when it comes into contact with him. This right here, in my personal opinion, puts Naruto, or puts this Baryon mode on a completely different level. Not only is this mode extremely fast, extremely strong, best timing ever, has Naruto actually in control of it, but also as soon as he comes into contact with his enemies, it also shortens their lifespans automatically. So at this particular point, Isshiki Otsutsuki, he is completely bugging out. He says, I should have had at least 20 hours left conservatively, but somehow I've got less than 30 minutes. The scene shifts back to Karma. He tells Naruto, listen, don't think about taking him down, focus on only getting in your attacks, just like a boxer aiming to win by decision. And Isshiki Otsutsuki later said that Naruto's punches itself wasn't necessarily hurting him, it's just the fact that they were making contact. That right there was the problematic part. So obviously Karma's plan right now is definitely working. Now also, one of the more important things to point out in this chapter, after Naruto did lose a bit of chakra, Isshiki and Naruto were fighting more evenly at this particular point. It still seems that Naruto has a slight edge, but it's not necessarily as dominant as it was at the beginning of this chapter, where Naruto was just completely wailing on Isshiki Otsutsuki. And it actually gets to a point where Isshiki Otsutsuki is actually sitting on top of Naruto, choking Naruto, and then out of nowhere he creates a portal and out comes Kawaki. He basically says that Naruto's chakra link to Kawaki's arm is what made this possible, and out of nowhere Kawaki is now in the dimension with Isshiki Otsutsuki. Remind you guys, right before that happened, Isshiki Otsutsuki did say his lifespan has shrunken even more. He now has less than 10 minutes. Now right before the chapter ended, Boruto opened his eyes and Boruto had a Byakugan. This right here signifies that Momoshiki actually took over his body at this particular point. So I'm pretty sure you guys understood. At the end of chapter 52, when we were reading it in the Boruto manga, everybody was bugging at this particular point. But chapter 53 starts, and of course this is the last chapter I'm going to go over, so if you guys want to read chapter 54, you guys can definitely do that on your own. I just don't necessarily want to spoil some unnecessary things. But regardless, Kawaki pulls up. As you guys expect, Isshiki Otsutsuki 100% is only focused on Kawaki at this particular point. And in fact, by this time, Naruto's Baryon mode has actually wore off. So Naruto's on the floor, completely tired. He completely tapped out. He is now done. Now, it's very important to point out, Naruto is not dead at this particular point. He is still alive. He is still reacting to what is going on, but Naruto is still on the floor. Like, we can clearly see that Naruto plus Sasuke, they are very hurt. So at this particular time, Kawaki essentially tries to attack Isshiki Otsutsuki. Obviously, that right there didn't necessarily go well. Isshiki Otsutsuki grabs Kawaki. Sasuke switches places with Kawaki using the Rinnegan, but Sasuke tells Kawaki that by his feet, he should see something and throw it down right by his feet. Kawaki grabs it and throws it down, and it looks like a smoke grenade that blocks the Byakugan's ability to see. So at this particular time, Kawaki is completely gone. Isshiki Otsutsuki pissed off. He pretty much slaps Sasuke. He didn't necessarily kill him because obviously he doesn't necessarily have time to be worrying about Sasuke, so he's now actively looking for Kawaki. He can't necessarily find Kawaki. Isshiki Otsutsuki is going absolutely crazy. He then goes to Naruto and then kicks Naruto in the chest. Remind you guys, Naruto is still alive. He's still alert and everything like that. He kicks Naruto in the chest. Naruto is essentially screaming out in pain, and then Isshiki Otsutsuki tells Kawaki, he says, "Are you listening, Kawaki? Show yourself within 20 seconds or else I'll rip his chest open and kill him. Run all you want as long as you don't care that your beloved Hokage will die." Now this right here pretty much takes Kawaki into a couple of flashbacks with Naruto, with Jigen, all that, and out of nowhere, Kawaki pops out, and then shows himself. Naruto says Kawaki, Sasuke says that idiot. Isshiki Otsutsuki obviously makes a beeline to Kawaki. Kawaki tries to use some sort of fire style jutsu. Isshiki Otsutsuki completely waves that off, and then it grabs Kawaki and starts to implant him with the Karma Seal. This right here is going to be a very interesting scene in the Boruto anime. Right after that, Kawaki kind of talks to Isshiki Otsutsuki as if he's telling Isshiki Otsutsuki, like, I'll be fine with the Hokage Naruto. This right here didn't necessarily register to me the first time that I was reading it, but the second time that I'm reading it over, it really makes a lot of sense. He's essentially saying that Lord 7 took me in as his student. He said I have a knack for it. He then says he taught me a lot of other things too. He says I was empty, but he gave me a reason to live. Essentially telling Isshiki Otsutsuki, like, I'll be good once you're gone. But then after Isshiki finishes implanting Kawaki with the Karma Seal, he pretty much puts him in a chokehold and then raises him up and then lets him go. Isshiki Otsutsuki starts to laugh hysterically and essentially starts boasting. Kawaki's Karma Seal then starts to disappear. Isshiki Otsutsuki is in shambles. Kawaki is saying, mind telling us how much longer you have, how much longer you can cling to your existence? Seconds? Mr. Otsutsuki. Then out of nowhere, Isshiki Otsutsuki collapses to the ground. A second Kawaki comes out of nowhere. The original Kawaki that was implanted with the Karma Seal, or we thought was implanted with the Karma Seal, completely disappears. Turns out that right there was just a shadow clone jutsu, a jutsu that Naruto was teaching Kawaki for just like a few weeks, and now he's completely learned it and now is able to use it in a battle to actually save not only Naruto but also Sasuke. Naruto we don't know yet, but in a battle to defeat Isshiki Otsutsuki. Essentially gold riding in my personal opinion. Kawaki hops down and actually steps on Isshiki Otsutsuki as his body completely crumbles, and then he says, "Sleep all you want, you piece of crap." He did everything except spit on a man. This right here was an absolute shocker, but at the end of the chapter, here's where things really start to go crazy. Naruto afterwards sits up and starts to talk to Kawaki. Sasuke is also walking over, so Naruto and Sasuke, as of right now, they seem completely fine. But out of nowhere, as you guys heard me talk about before, Momoshiki took over Boruto's body, became Borushiki, and out of nowhere, he completely stabs Sasuke in his Rinnegan, completely disabling Sasuke's Rinnegan. And then Boruto hops down and says, "I never thought that you'd actually defeat Isshiki, but good, now you're the only nuisances left." This right here is where the chapter ends, and this right here is where all the chaos ends. I'm personally going to say I think that this right here might be where the actual episode ends in the next episode, but chapter 54 definitely has a propensity to have some things in this specific episode. But let me know what you guys think about these spoilers in the comment section below. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, the next episode of Boruto is going to be a historic episode. I hope you guys are gonna enjoy it as much as I'm gonna enjoy it as well. But it's me, your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.